So this concept today, we're talking about educational justice in particularly because of the resource of non-interest bearing loans, interest-free loans. And this concept of interest-free loans is quite revolutionary, actually, because interest is so soaked into everything that we do, accessing education, getting a car, getting a house, everything. You have to take out these interest-bearing loans. And so with this revolutionary concept of having loans that don't bear interest, it's one of a kind. I mean, this Muslim Aid event is really introducing something, but it's really just one organization in all of America that the Muslim community, we've only come up with one organization that provides these loans. So firstly, do you think that we could break free from the shackles of interest as Muslims, seeing as riba is something that we should be avoiding as Muslims anyway? Do you think that we can do that? Can we break ourselves away from that? And then also, what would it take for us to be able to break away from that?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing is that it takes is believing that our deen is the truth, and that we are willing to put that unapologetically Muslim to action, that we're really willing to put our money where our mouth is. And so that, and that requires a level of courage. And I mean, just the concept is so, like you said, revolutionary, but it's a prophetic concept, right? It's something that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam introduced. So it does, what it requires for us is for us to build sustainable incomes around our values. Right. And so when we look at, for example, capitalism, this is like, what we're talking about is something that's a Calvinistic idea. And so if we are willing to put certain ideals, Islamic practices into practice, then we're able to not only change it for ourselves, but how many people at this stage in their life, when they're graduating from college with something like an $80,000 debt or $100,000 in debt, and with increasing interest, they absolutely need this, right? Mm-hmm. This is not just for the Muslim. This is something that honestly we all need if we're going to attempt to build sustainable economics, right? If we're also going to reduce the impact of harmful practices. And I think once we begin to introduce it to people in that light, for example, the fact that it's more sustainable economically, the fact that it reduces harmful impact. For example, I'll give you something. And it's a horrible example, but it's real. The amount of what people do in order to pay off to put themselves through school, right? I'm talking about they delve into illegal practices, right? That parents literally have to put a second mortgage out on their house that sometimes they don't even live to pay off. It's owned by the bank. We could talk about, I don't want to go too in depth and, burn people's eyebrows off in this session about what people do in order to put themselves through school because they're so desperate, because they know that if you don't graduate, then they won't be able to climb out of a certain economic status. And so I look at it and say Citibank was the first bank, at least that was openly known to kind of introduce Sharia compliant loans from a conventional bank status, right? And so if someone like as large as Citibank can do it, even partnering with other Islamic banks, it does require us to be strong in our principles. And those who are, who this is their expertise, right? Let's get to work and figure out how we can implement this. If we can do it for, like you said, if we can do it for mortgages, if we can do it for, getting a car, if we can do it for other things, for certain, we can do it as it relates to education, especially when these are the ones who are going to be graduating and contributing to the economy.